Have you ever wondered how some people have so much money? Meanwhile, the vast majority of the population is struggling financially? This is certainly a conundrum that a lot of us want to know the answers to. Well, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 money lessons that if you know these and if you implement these would change your financial life in a massive, massive way. And again, this is also the difference between the massively wealthy and a lot of the population who has virtually no money. And again, it's some very simple principles. A lot of people already know these, but the problem is not implementing them. And again, that is what is really tough about a lot of this. But I want to get into the list right away. We will talk about all these. I'll give you a brief description of them, and I can always come back in a future video and talk about a lot more money lessons, but these are some basics, and I want to share these with you right here in this video. All right, number 1, accumulate assets and reduce liabilities. Now, this is actually very obvious, but again, a lot of people don't recognize the differences between assets and liabilities. Now, for example, your house, your car, your t-shirt, your Air Jordans, things like this, these are not assets. These are liabilities, okay? A lot of people walk around and say, oh, my car, it's an asset. My house, it's an asset. My Air Jordans are an asset. No, they're not. These are liabilities. These are not assets whatsoever, okay? Now, this is where the mindset comes in, where a lot of people just simply do not know the difference of an asset and a liability. Think of it this way. An asset is something that's going to pay you. A liability is going to take money from you. So let's ask the question again. Is your car paying you every month? I don't think so. Is your house paying you every month? I don't think so. Are your Air Jordans paying you every month? I highly doubt it, right? These things are taking money from you. They are liabilities, okay? However, if you had a car that you maybe bought and you rented it out, say 5 days a week, and your car payment per month is say $521, but yet you bring in say $700 in rent on that car per month, then guess what? That is now an asset. How? But wait, you just said your car is a liability. You're right. For most people, the vast majority of the people, your car is absolutely a liability. However, think about these big joints out there that rent cars out, right? They have these huge businesses. They rent out all of these cars. Are those all liabilities? No, those are assets, right? Every single one of those is an asset because it is producing income above and beyond the liability or the expenses on that thing. Does that kind of make sense, right? So the accumulation of assets, something that pays you, again, this is how people make a lot of money. They accumulate a lot of assets, or they accumulate something that just continuously pays them, and then boom, there you go, right? So reducing the liability of it and just turning it into an asset. Does that kind of make sense? So obviously everything cannot be an asset, but some things can be, and this is where the major misunderstanding comes in, is that a lot of people believe things that are not assets are actually liabilities, and they think, oh, this is an asset. No, it's not. If it's not paying you, it's a liability, right? Okay, so take that as into consideration. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2, know the difference between good credit and bad credit. Again, a lot of people don't know the differences between these, okay? Why? Does our school tell us this? No, school is terrible. School tells us nothing, okay? I'm going to tell you this much. School did nothing for me. Absolutely nothing for me. Everything that I know, I learned after school, okay? School was a complete waste of 12 years of my life. I can say that much, okay? Hopefully some of my teachers are watching this video. Maybe they are. I highly doubt it. But if you are watching this video, hey, school sucks. It did nothing for me. I'm sorry, but your classes did absolutely nothing. Everything that I learned was basically after the age of 18. Anyway, my point is this much. School does not tell us the difference between good debt and bad debt, okay? There is such a thing as good debt. In fact, I'm a huge fan of good debt. Bad debt, you want to eliminate this as much as you possibly can. Now, let me give you some examples, okay? Bad debt, also known as consumer debt, is things like going into debt on a credit card, getting a personal loan, getting an auto loan. Basically anything that does not bring money back to you, okay? So credit card debt is possibly the worst of all the bad debt or the consumer debt. Why? Well, for a variety of reasons. First off, they give you a credit line. You can spend as much as you want up to the credit line, and now they're even offering the ability to spend beyond the credit line. That's really bad for a lot of people as well. And then they jack up the interest rates on these things, and it makes it very difficult for a lot of people to get out of credit card debt, right? This is very, very bad debt, and a lot of people understand this. Now, that's bad. We want to avoid bad debt like the plague, okay? You do not want to get into bad debt. Obviously, that is not a situation for some people. Some people cannot avoid consumer debt, and that's okay. But if you need to go into consumer debt, try to pay it off as fast as you possibly can, because this is the kind of debt, like I said in example number 1, it's a liability. You got to pay that sucker every single month. You got to keep feeding the beast. Not a good situation, right? However, there is good debt. Wait, what? Debt can be good? Oh yeah, debt can be really good, okay? Let me give you a couple examples. Let's just say that you buy something, an asset, going back to number 1, where you accumulate an asset, and now this asset is paying you above and beyond what the liability is on a monthly basis. Let's go back to the car example that I gave you in point number 1, which was accumulating assets, okay? Let's just say that you buy a car, okay? It's a $30,000 brand new car, okay? If you're buying it for personal use, it is now a liability. That is bad debt. However, if you buy a brand new car, 30 grand in this example, okay? You spend 30 grand on this thing. However, you have a plan. You're going to use it 20% for personal use and 80% for business use. In other words, when I'm working for 8 hours a day, I'm going to go on one of these car rental apps. I'm going to rent my car out for the 8 hours that I'm sitting in the office or whatever. When the thing would be parked in your garage, you rent it out for 8 hours a day, say 5, 6, 7 days a week, something like this, and the thing brings in, say, $1,000 a month in rental income. But yet you have expenses, as in insurance and other things like this, of say, I don't know, say $600 a month. Now this thing is an asset to you, and it is good debt. Taking on that $30,000 of debt to acquire this car is now turning into good debt. Why? You've taken on 30 grand of debt to basically get yourself an asset that's going to pay you basically $400 a month of cash flow. You've got yourself an asset, and you took on traditionally bad debt, which would usually be bad debt, but you took on debt that would otherwise be bad, and now it's good debt because you've turned that car into an asset versus a slug that just sits around and just costs you money every month, right? That is the difference here, okay? So this can be applied in a variety of ways. Now, let's think of a house really quickly. Let's just say that you want to buy a house, right? Generally, most people buy a house, they live in the house, and they say, look at my asset. It's not an asset. That thing is a massive liability. How? You got to pay a mortgage. You have to pay property taxes that keep going up. You need to pay insurance that keeps going up. You need to pay repairs and maintenance, utilities, all of these things like this. And then somebody calls it an asset? That's ridiculous. It is not an asset. It is 100% a liability. You got to feed the beast every single month. And if you don't, well, you're going to lose a house real soon if you don't pay it, right? Because even if you don't have a mortgage on it, guess what? You can foreclose on tax foreclosure. That's a thing too. Property taxes that are unpaid, it's called tax foreclosure, okay? It is a thing and it happens, unfortunately. But again, unless you were to take that house that you buy and you say, I'm going to buy a house now and I'm going to rent it. My mortgage is $1,000 a month. I'm going to rent it for $1,300. All expenses paid, you get $300 of cash flow. That thing went from a liability, if you're going to live in it, now it is an asset paying you $300 of cash flow a month. You see the differences here? Massive, massive difference. You got to know the difference between good debt and bad debt, okay? I know, seems a little bit confusing, but listen to that section again there, and it'll make it very clear as far as what I'm talking about. All right, number 3, stop saving money. This is the dumbest thing in the absolute world, okay? We've been taught, it's crammed down our throat constantly, the school system and all these people out there, oh, save your pennies, please. You'll need to have those pennies to lean back on someday. That's dumb. I'm sorry, but what is the government doing? They're printing money. They have a printing press. We don't, okay? It's fiat currency. In other words, it's worthless. It has no value whatsoever, okay? When Richard Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard in 1971, when the dollar was no longer linked to gold. In other words, you could no longer trade in dollars for an exchange of equivalent gold, which is what you could do back in the day. You could trade in your dollars and get the equivalent in gold, okay? It actually had value then. It was backed by something. Dollars today, ever since 1971 when we were taken off the gold standard, dollars are worthless. It's fiat currency. They print as much as they possibly want. It's monopoly money. It's confetti. It's whatever you want to call it. It's worthless crap, okay? Stop saving worthless crap. That's all it is. Money is to be used, okay? Money is not to be saved. It's to be used for goods and services. That's it. It's a medium of exchange. You have it for a little while. You exchange it for goods and services. You exchange it for assets. You exchange it for liabilities, hopefully not. But then it's used as a medium of exchange. It's your money temporarily until you give it to somebody else in exchange for something. There's no point in saving this stuff, okay? Now, let me just step back for a second here and say this much, okay? Save a little bit. Now, again, this is going to be completely contradictory. Save just enough to cover your living expenses on a monthly basis or whatever. Fine. If you want to have an emergency fund set aside, then that's fine too. But if somebody were to look at my bank accounts, I have no money. Why? I don't save money. I think it's the dumbest thing in the absolute world, other than covering just general living expenses. I'll have a little bit of money set aside for living expenses on a monthly basis. That's it. I've got nothing in my bank accounts. Seriously, okay? Like a little bit, teeny tiny bit, couple $1,000. That's it. Not much at all. And it's just to cover living expenses. Literally, month over month, it's gone. There it goes. Out again. It's just right back down to nothing, okay? So my point is, saving money is absolutely ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. The people that come out and say, save money, oh my, save your money, that's about as smart as saying, save computer paper as much as you possibly can. All that junk mail you're getting and all that computer paper that has ink on it, save it. It's going to be worth something someday. Here's what it's good for. It's good for kindling. That's it. Put it in a big pile, set a match on it, and you're good. That's all it's good for. That's literally all money is good for, okay? Now, don't burn money, okay? I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Don't do that. But my point is, saving money is just completely useless, okay? Now, here's the thing as well. Money loses value every single year. I was going to say every day. It basically loses money every single month, okay? Why? Because of inflation. Inflation continues to rise, and they continue to print more money, and as a result of that, money is depleted, okay? The purchasing power of dollars is depleting. So if you have, okay, let me give you a quick example really fast here. Think back to the year 2020, okay? 2020, what happened then? Well, a bunch of different things, but let's just say this much. Let's just say in 2020, you had a savings account with $10,000 in it. Congratulations, you're sitting pretty good, okay? 10 grand for a lot of people is a lot of money. Back in 2020, you had $10,000 sitting in a savings account. Now today, by the way, as I film this video right now in mid 2024, you have that same $10,000, okay? When you were sitting, say, about technically 3.5 years ago, considering it's mid 2024 right now. So a few years ago, that $10,000, could it buy you back then the same amount of goods and services as what it can buy you today? The answer is you could get significantly more back then in 2020, just a few years ago, with that same $10,000 as what you can get today. Today, you can get significantly less. It's the same $10,000. You're right, it's still $10,000, but it's lost its value because of depletion of purchasing power, because of good old inflation. That's how the game is set up, okay? It's set up in such a way that this is what happens. They want inflation. An environment where there's no inflation, that's not a good thing. The Federal Reserve strives to have a 2% inflation target. That's their goal. They want 2% inflation around that range. 2 to 2.5% is the target of the Federal Reserve. My point is, the last several years here, we've seen prices go up nearly 20% across the board on everything. That's just average inflation on the last 3 years or so on everything. My point is that $10,000 has lost a lot, okay? You've lost because inflation has gone up, call it 20%, just under 20% in the last 3 years. That $10,000 from 2020, would have bought you a lot more than it buys you today. And that is a perfect example of depletion of purchasing power because of inflation. Money is depleting. It is not to be saved. It is to be used as an exchange of goods and services. It is to be flowing. Dead money that sits there depletes, just like everything else. Something that sits there and is not moving or providing or doing anything depletes. Okay, that's it. I mean, that's just how it works, right? Set anything down and leave it for an extended period of time. What's going to happen to it? It'll turn to dust. That's what happens. You know what I mean? It disintegrates. It dissolves. It disappears. It goes away. That's the same thing with fiat currency, and that's exactly what dollars are. Fiat currency, worthless crap. Okay? All right, so that's the same thing, my little pitch about saving money. Now, again, save a little bit to get you by, but don't, well, again, do whatever you got to do for you, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't save any more than that. There's no point. Worthless. Get yourself something that's going to pay you every month. All right, so number 4, educate yourself, okay? Now, again, okay, this is a little bit of a touchy topic here, but I want to say this much. Do anything you possibly can to learn something every day, okay? I know it seems like, but I'm, X years old or whatever. I know it all. I'm an expert, whatever, things like this, okay? If you're walking around with this mentality, you are doing a massive, massive disservice to yourself, okay? I am trying to learn something every day. I am like a freak. I am absolutely desperate every single day to learn as much as I possibly can, okay? So as of right now, we're about halfway through 2024 as I film this video right now. I've read 31 books this year so far. That's not that much. Some people read way more than that. But I'm at 31 books so far this year, and we're not even halfway through the year as I film this video. But by the time we get to the end of this year, I'll have probably about 70 plus books that I've read by the end of this year, okay? My point is, every single day I'm listening to audiobooks. If I don't have an audiobook playing, I have some kind of course, some kind of lesson, some type of seminar, something from somebody who's smarter and richer than me, which, by the way, I'm not rich. I'm just simply saying somebody that has more money than me. I want to learn, what are you doing? I want to learn from this person. Tell me, give me your skills, give me your knowledge, give me your experience, give me your, basically your knowledge that is basically accumulated over the years of all the things you did wrong so that I can avoid those pitfalls and advance basically myself a little bit faster, right? I want to learn as much as I possibly can. So the people that are walking around saying, oh no, I know it all. I don't need to read. I don't need to study. I don't need to do anything. You don't know it all. I'll tell you that much. You definitely do not know it all. And if you think you do, again, you're doing a massive, massive disservice to yourself. Learn something every day. Learn something. I don't care what it is. My goal every day is to learn as much as I possibly can, okay? I'm learning stuff all the time, right? Here's the thing. My wife will attest to this as well. I'm learning new words every day. I mean, seriously, basic stuff, okay? Who cares? Do I have the best vocabulary in the world? No. Do I think I know everything in the world? No. I'm learning as much as I possibly can. It could be completely unrelated information. But here's the thing. When you learn more, guess what happens? You build these synapses and you build networks, right? So you might learn one little point today, and then in 3 weeks you learn another point. You think, whoa, I just had a light bulb moment. I learned this one thing 3 weeks ago. I just learned something else today, and it made this little connection. A synaptic connection. Whoa, this is super cool, right? The more of these synaptic connections you have, the more that you can relate to other things and the more that you can build upon that, right? It's like building a very sturdy foundation with rebar through the concrete, right? You're making very stable foundations and you're learning a ton. And as you do that, the connections get greater and greater and you can build upon that foundation and it just gets easier. The more you go, the more you learn. It just connects. It's all intertwined, more synergistically. Boom, there you go. It makes life so much easier the more you know. Educate yourself. It is so incredibly important. If you would have asked me this the first 18 years of my life, I would have said, education? What you talking about? First off, I didn't even know how to spell education when I was 18. Seriously, I don't even think I knew how to spell that. I was such an idiot, okay? My point is, I knew nothing for the first 18 years of my life. School was a worthless waste of my time. Anyway, it still bothers me that I wasted so much of my life doing that crap. Anyway, I'll get over it someday. Probably not, but maybe. All right, so that's point number 4. Now, point number 5, which, by the way, school is very important for general knowledge. But again, just the experience I had was really bad, okay? I'm not saying you should skip school or anything like that. Do not do that. I'm just simply saying my experience was really bad. I really dwell on it. I feel really bad about it. I just feel like I wasted so many years doing nothing. But anyway, school is very important. Knowledge, absolutely very, very important. I'm 100% all about education, whereas the first 18 years of my life, I was like, not a chance, not happening, right? But anyway, all right, so that's number 4. Number 5, okay? This is another basic one, is write goals, okay? Identify goals. I know a lot of people say, oh, I write my goals all the time. I know what my goals are. Okay, what are your goals? Tell me. Tell me so simply that a little child can understand what your goals are, okay? Your goals need to be so basic, so clear, so concise that a little child can understand it. My name's John, and I'm going to be a millionaire. Okay, John. That's a great goal, but when? When are you going to be a millionaire? What's your plan to get there, John? What's your strategy to get there? What are your tactics? What are you doing every day to move toward being a millionaire, John? That's my questions for you, John. So, my point is, make goals, okay? Now again, goal is a word that a lot of people just throw around. I want to change the word goal with destination. Where are you going? That's what I want to know. What is your plan? What is your plan of attack? What is your strategy? How are you going to get there? What are you doing to achieve this? What actions are you taking every single day to get you closer and closer to this goal, or this destination, as I like to call it, okay? When I say goal, that really doesn't mean anything to me. I like to think of it as a destination, okay? Think of it this way. Go out to your car, get in your car, pull out of wherever you're parked, and start driving somewhere. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, where are you going? You're going to say, I don't know. Well, that's a dumb response. Where are you going? I'm going to the grocery store. Okay, that's your destination. Awesome. Where are you going next? Well, then I'm going to stop at the gas station. Cool. You have another destination. Where are you going after that? Well, I think I might swing by the local coffee shop and pick up a $7 cup of coffee. Okay, fine. If you want to do that, by all means, go for it. But, okay, that's good. You have another destination. Where are you going after that? Well, then after that, I'm going to come home. Okay, awesome. You have another destination, okay? That's my point. Find the goals. What are you aiming toward? What are you going toward? Think of this much as well. An airplane. An airplane is sitting at an airport, okay? A bunch of people get on the airplane. They taxi to the runway, and the captain's about to take off. Do you think that captain knows where they're going? Yes, of course they do. Do you think they just take off and just fly around for a while and just be like, where are you going? I don't know. I'm just flying around. Dude, what are you doing? That's not a plan. You have exactly the coordinates of where you're going, right? That captain knows exactly where that airplane is going. They have the coordinates in. Honestly, I don't really know how airplanes work. I'm just being real with you, okay? The captain knows the coordinates of that destination. They have the coordinates probably typed in on their little screen or whatever they do. That sucker takes off, and that plane is moving toward that destination. Guess what? If it's off by 10 degrees, what does it do? It adjusts and calibrates for the adjustment, and it makes, moves closer toward that destination, toward the goal, right? You gotta have a goal in mind. You gotta have a destination. If you don't know where you're going, how do you arrive at a destination that you don't know? You get my point here, okay? Think of this as well. This is another analogy that Earl Nightingale talks about. I like Earl Nightingale. He's from back in the day. He's long gone by now, but back in like the, maybe 60s or 70s, something like that. I'm not sure when it was. But he talked a lot about ships and the ocean. But one of the things that he talks about is starting a ship and just letting the engines go with no captain at the helm. And he says, where's it going to go? Well, nowhere. If it gets out of the harbor at all, it's going to end up on some rocky beach or just some deserted, some deserted island or something like that, if it makes it anywhere, right? So that's something that Earl Nightingale talks about all the time, and I really enjoyed listening to that because it's so true. Every single ship that leaves a harbor has a very specific port of call. They can't see the port of call for the vast majority of the voyage, but guess what? Someday the sun rises over the horizon, and then what do you see way off in the distance? A little dot. What is that thing? It's an island. That's the port of call. That's where we're going. The vast majority of the voyage, you didn't see it. There was nothing there, right? But the captain knew They had the coordinates in. They had a destination. They had faith. They knew if I continue to move in this direction, eventually the goal will appear. Boom, there you go. There it is on the horizon, port of call. We're pulling on in, and we're going to spend all day sitting at the beach, getting nice and burnt and tan, and playing in the sand. That's what I like to do. Anyway, so does that make sense? It brings me back to the days when my wife and I used to go on cruises, and loved it. That was so much fun. We haven't been on cruises in quite a few years, but my point is so much fun going on that. It's like all you see is just ocean, nothing, and it's like, oh, where are we going? This is super cool. I can't wait to get there. And then one day you wake up and whoa, there's an island there. That's cool. Didn't realize that thing was going to come out of the ocean, right? I don't know. Anyway, super cool. But my point is, have a destination. Where are you going? Figure that out. Be very, very specific about the destination, okay? Here's the thing. Let me go back to the ship analogy. The ship goes out into sea, okay? It just says, destination is some island. Do you think they're going to get to some island? Highly doubt it, right? You got to be very specific of the island that you're going to or the port of call, okay? We are going to Bermuda. The port of call in Bermuda. I don't know the port name there, but I'm just simply saying. We are specifically going to the port of XYZ in Bermuda, okay? You got to be very, very specific about the destination. If you're vague about the destination, guess what? You get vague results. You see my point here? The more specific that you are about all of this, the more specific you can be about the intentions and more specific about what you're actually going to reap out of the sowing that you're going to do. You like that one there as well, right? Yeah. All right, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I know this video's getting a little bit long here, but I hope this helps you. Please look into this, take all this into consideration, and this is what I wanted to share with you really quickly in this video. But again, some very simple points, but it's so easy to look at this and think, oh, it's so basic, I don't need to do this. You know what? What's easy to do is also not easy to do. Get my point? So do yourself a huge favor, implement some of these. You would see your life massively change in a huge, huge way. Make sense? Anyway, enjoy your day. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video with your friends on my social media. There's a share button down below. Enjoy your day. Take care.